Board Member Ister.
Here.
Board Member Doyle.
Here.
Board Member Pasquale.
Here.
Board Member Larkin.
Present.
Board Member Lonick.
Here.
Board Member McClure.
Here.
Board Member Springer.
Here.
And Chair Reagan.
Here. Yeah, we need a motion to approve Cliff's absence.
You'll make the motion.
Mike, is there a second?
Second.
April? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And we need a motion to approve the agenda. Brian, is there a second?
Support.
And any further discussion or changes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And approval of the minutes from the previous meeting for July 14th. Anyone want to make that motion? Mike, Dean, is there a second? Rita? Okay, any corrections? Changes on that? No? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Treasurer's report?
Our current balance is $364,000. This summer, in summer TIPA, we expect to collect $332,000 additional TIPA revenues, and those will be reflected on your next statement. I also wanted to mention on the accounts payable that Elan City for $4,000 was for the radar signs, and Epic Excavating, $6,800 was for the downtown sidewalk project.
Chair Reagan, before we continue on, can we please make sure that everybody's mics are on? There'd be a little red light.
You're on.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Sue? And I'll need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
You'll make the motion.
Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Brian, any questions or changes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And public comments for items not on the agenda? Officer Buchla?
Chief.
Chief Buchla.
Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you again for the purchasing of the Elon City radar signs. The interactive messages that we put on there are saying slow down, and then when they hit the speed limit, they're saying thank you. I only have a week and a half worth of data since we just got these installed. I'd like to report that they are working as I expected. We're at 89% at or below the speed limit for the traffic coming in from the east. We're at a whopping 96% for the westbound traffic, or coming in from the west. That could be a couple reasons. One, they could be getting caught at the light, or they actually are seeing it and following the speed limit. So they are working as I anticipated, but again, this is just some raw numbers, and I hope to have a better report for you next month.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that where it is now on coming in from the west, you'd better serve being up by the tracks where it turns at 25 than just at the light? Because, like you just said, I look at it and everybody's doing 12, you know?
Right.
They just start out.
And that's something we can look at if we need to move it. I'd like to see what the data is, because we want to keep, this is where a lot of the congestion is right downtown.
It's easier to move though, right?
Yes. I just have to have the electrician come out and move it and wire it back into another light pole.
Steve, just for understanding, 90, whatever it was, 93, 96% is at or under the speed limit?
That is correct.
And that data is from wherever it detects the traffic?
That is correct.
And it detects it about 100 yards down west, more or less?
It can go, as long as there's a line of sight, it can go infinitely. We're catching vehicles coming in from the east as soon as they make the curve by James Street. So we do have a spike on that side, which we can actually use that data to figure out what time of day these speeding vehicles are coming in and have an officer present to
Is it reasonable to assume then that the data can also be used for the traffic count?
Yes, that is correct. 21,000 vehicles over the time period that we were looking at on July 28th through August 2nd. So that's how many vehicles had come through. That was over the weekend. And we took the data on Monday. Okay.
The old trailer, do we still use that, or is there any value?
We still use it. That's a mobile trailer, and the reason I don't like to use it downtown is it takes up at least one parking space, sometimes two. We did have some trouble getting the data off it the last time because it is a Windows 2000 platform, and a lot of our newer computers are fighting getting the data off of it. But we're still able to use it. We have an older computer that we're able to download it to. But mainly it's for a traffic count. We're not using it for that. We're just using it to put the speed sign up.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions for Steve? Any other public comments? Move on to old business, downtown development plan. Any update on that at all, Dave? No. South of the parking lot, update on that. Rich, do you have anything?
I just want to mention to everybody that if you've seen the lot, we have a grass growth problem out there. It's obviously because of the weather. Dave Austin is working with the contractor to hold them accountable for getting that guaranteed growth out there. And we're also working with contractors to get a sprinkler system installed still. And just due to the nature of their work, the sprinkler contractors are backlogged. And so we're having some difficulty getting folks in there to get those installed for us. Also a reminder to them that the street lights for back there will be in late September, early October. And we did get the dumpsters moved over to finally, so there are no in the enclosure.
What are they doing right now there, Rich? There's guys there right now cutting up a curb already.
Cutting curb?
Yes.
I'm not aware of what they're doing, so I'll walk back there. Maybe, you know what's going on, Dave?
We're just getting some punch list items today.
Okay, so punch list items.
Just one.
Appreciate the question.
Different subject, different season. Foresee any problems as far as plowing that, the winter and stuff?
The
Cuts and stuff.
access way's a little skinny, but I think we'll be able to manage that okay. And then just the plowing will just push to the south and just up over the backside of the parking lot, so I don't see that as a problem.
Don't go too far, so. Flood out your whole black.
The parking lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Rich.
No problem.
Economic development, any update on that at all, Dave? Okay, new business, moving on to the Laura Trail. Had some questions on that last time, so the representative wants to address some of the questions that we brought up last time.
Thanks for having us again. I just wanted to address some of the concerns and questions that some of you had. Dr. Regan, you had asked about the possibility of running that trail along M21. After talking with Dave, we discussed the option, but again, what I told you at the last meeting was that trail will have to be 10 foot wide. And crossing that, there's more commercial drives going that route than there is to come down Alden Nash. So our recommendation would be to stay with the Alden Nash. He gave us some numbers. There is, on the proposed route along Alden Nash, there's six driveway crossing, 4 residential drives, and 2 commercial drives. One of them is Michigan Wires. The route using down M21, there is 11 driveway crossing, 1 residential, and 10 commercial. 2 of them are Michigan Wire and DD Trucking. So I wanted to address your concern on that. We still feel that that's the best route to come down Alden Nash and the safest route for residents and children to use. Mr. Doyle asked about, he wanted to know how this would benefit local businesses. And I'm going to turn some of that over to Alan Rumbaugh in a second, but I wanted to, we were thinking about the DDA district and where that lies, and the DDA district goes all the way to Alden Nash. So there's a number of businesses that are going to be directly benefited, some of them more than others, during this phase. But this phase is just part of a big trail system that we're going to talk about when we get further down in this. But if you go to like Metro Health, Mercantile Bank, Equipment Solutions, River Valley Credit Union, D&D Trucking, AutoZone, First Baptist Church, I don't know if you're aware of the First Baptist Church, but Ada Bible, the Impact Church, they have huge events there a couple times a week. There's literally hundreds of kids that are in that event. This will definitely benefit them because I think a lot of those kids are coming from those communities down in Old Nash. Just to name a few more, there was Arby's, Subway, Taco Bell, Family Video, McDonald's. It's part of our trail system that we're trying to get so that in the master plan, this is just another phase of it. So when we get to this phase and we go to the next one, it's going to help everybody. Some people are going to be benefited more than others for this phase. But as we continue into our master plan, I think that everybody will really like. I did bring the master plan with us, but it's kind of hard to read. But I can certainly show it to all of you if you'd like. I wanted to talk about the liability that Mr. Dean had talked about next to his property. You had asked us to show you some other industrial businesses that are next to trails. And locally, I'm thinking Metric Manufacturing, Lighthouse Manufacturing, there's Root Lowell, and then the big one that I'm thinking, but it's not manufacturing, is our Lowell schools. I mean, there's a trail that crosses that part of, there's driveways across that trail right there, and there's literally 50 to 80 buses that go in and out of that driveway every day. No incidents. I'm not aware of any incidents with any of these other factories as well. Some of the industrial parks that, there's a whole bunch of them, but I'll just list a few of them. Byrne Industrial Park, Wolverine Worldwide, Chaco Manufacturing, Cedar Springs Mill, and there's one that's not in Rockford, and that was, I think it's Deweese Manufacturing. There's two sides of the trail that wrap around that manufacturing. The only reason I went up there is because you had mentioned that you and your wife walked up there on that trail in Rockford, but there's a lot of manufacturing places that are right next to the trail. I asked a couple of insurance reps. I asked Farm Bureau Insurance, one of the regional reps, if they were aware of it. They're not aware of any incidents. I talked to the engineer that that's working with Laura and the one that's working with the township, and they're not aware of any incidents that are with a trail being next to an industrial park. And then the last thing that I wanted to address was the maintenance, and we're still confident that Laura will continue to, it would be the city of Lowell, Virginia's township, Lowell Township would contribute to maintain this trail. So it's not something that's going to be dumped off onto Mr. Lonick and say, we built the trail, now it's time for you to maintain it. So our intention is still to maintain it ourselves. And then I would like, if you don't mind, I'd like Alan Rumbaugh to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of the trail. Any questions for me?
Just a comment, several of the examples that you cited, Mark, referred to manufacturing. I never referred to manufacturing, I referred to heavy industrial. And there's a difference, and by your testimony supports what I tried to explain, that there's not an understanding in general about heavy industrial versus manufacturing or commercial or retail. And with your testimony of the anticipated increased civilian traffic, it supports what I tried to present at the last meeting. So.
Okay, thank you. I drove around, and again, I did some research and was trying to find something. There's not a lot of businesses that are exactly like yours.
I appreciate that, and you continue to make my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, from a selfish standpoint, I also am working on the Rails to Trails program. Yeah, we find Laura, of course, as an integral part of having completion of our 125 miles from Owasso up through Belding, Greenville, and over to Alma. So that we need that connection of Laura to be able to connect our two sections of the trail, or actually be 4 sections of the trail. To the statistics that we've collected over the years from different trails that are already in existence. The White Pine Trail, 8 in 10 adjacent businesses and residents believe it has a positive influence on the community in Kent County as a whole. Only 2% of the businesses and 1% of the residents have a negative influence. 54% of the businesses had one or more employees who use the White Pine Trail before and during breaks. 85% of the residential respondents indicate at least one person in their household uses the White Pine Trail. So that's the local numbers that we happen to have that we quickly were able to pull together. Katy Trail out in Kansas City, they found that old large homes and storefronts have been virtually abandoned, have now been refurnished as bed and breakfasts or inns, restaurants, ice cream shops, bicycle repair shops, or souvenir shops. Ohio Little Miami Trail in Warren County, people spend an average of $13.54 per visit on food and beverages and auto expenses. Restaurant and snack shops continue to develop along the trail in nearby community, and the trail users average $277 each year on durable goods such as clothing, equipment, and accessories. I've got 3 pages of just some of the studies that we had of different benefits. A lot of them residentials where the price of homes continues to increase more in areas that are served by trails. The negative of having people that wander through my backyard causing problems has not been an issue in any place that we have been able to research. The trails continue to develop across the state. The governor is certainly for it. And again, the LARA is going to be a very integral part of one of the largest trail systems, our 125 miles that we'll have going right through here, and hope that we can continue to work in developing this trail and making that connection a reality in a couple of years. Thank you.
Anybody else? Discussion from the board, review, I think they were asking for, what, 73,000 or 37,000? 35,000. And I guess I'll speak first, and I'd like to have the rest of the board, have their input. I have, my problem with it is we've spent a lot of money with sidewalks. I understand this is a bicycle path, it has to be 10 feet wide. Put that trail along G Drive. In hindsight, sure, it would have been nice to come down Alden Nash, but it is what it is, and we made that little path to bypass so they wouldn't have to go through Creekside, so it would kind of connect behind Tractor Supply. And that was something the city did and accommodated the trail. I think there's a path for people to get to the new park, and Jerry Hill gave an excellent presentation about the plans of the park, and all my kudos to the people that have worked on that, and it's great, but I don't know if it's our job to get the people from G Drive down to the park. And I kind of support Dean, as far as you ever walk past those driveways with those trucks going by, they're kind of intimidating. And to invite kids to come right across there, there's a reason why there hasn't been a sidewalk there in the past. And it just doesn't get a lot of traffic. And even the sidewalk that we have on Main Street for pedestrians to use gets so rarely used. I don't see people walking there very often at all. It's because it doesn't connect a lot of residential areas. So that's probably the 2 main problems I have with it. We have a pre-existing trail, not a bike trail, but a trail that you can get to the park on sidewalks through the town to get there. And to invite the areas to be an industrial, to go past the driveway where it has the semis going in and out. I just have a problem with that. Sure, there's always a danger with little kids, grandkids riding along M21, but there's dangers, why get in the car, there's always danger. You have to just be careful. And when you get in the city, it's a little different mentality when you're driving or riding a bike or walking. There is more traffic. And the kids coming from out in the country, they're not used to that. So there's going to be a steep learning curve for those kids when they come into town, whether it's on a rail to trail or a sidewalk. So, that's my 2 cents, and like to have the rest of the board have their input too.
I guess I feel that the path coming down, or the trail coming down Alden Nash, connecting with the new park that is there, and then continuing on to the other park, is a good thing for not only Lowell, but for everybody. I mean, it's a bonus for the town, because they're pushing to be bike and pedestrian friendly, because that's what's out there as far as the communities and that kind of stuff. So I'm for it.
I'm for it. I can see their point of view of having it down there just because with the schools, it gives them another place to go to the park, especially with if Cascade links their trails, which they've talked about, linking over to Grand River and then coming, that gives more people from Ada coming into Lowell when they're going on the trails. It doesn't just have to benefit the downtown businesses, there's other businesses at that end that's gonna benefit from it. I don't see a problem with it being, everybody has to be responsible, even when they're driving the big trucks coming in and out. I live by Timpson's. They have tons of trucks coming in and out. You just have to all be responsible and watch out for everyone.
We're looking at a big project here that's connecting so many different things. I'm not a walker, but I know there are a lot of people are. Brian, you do a lot of walking. Let me shut this off here. Excuse me. But we're talking about a little section of a project that is maybe it's going to stop a large project, something that we should be probably supporting as a town. I know there's another thing that you even brought up, Brian, about the riding downtown on the sidewalks where it's actually against the law, but you don't want to go on 21. And maybe that's something that we should actually incorporate, looking at even with supporting the trails. Trying to look at something that we could widen or what it is, so bikes can be more friendly, the town could be more friendly to the bikers. But I am supportive of the trails. I know you're having a problem in front of your place, and I just hope that it could work that out. And first I thought maybe a fence, but you'd have a fence. So it's probably just the coming in and out that is basically the problem.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, that's part of it. When we located out there, we were in the frontier. Development that we tried to do downtown 35 years ago pushed us out to the frontier. And we did not see the development coming out there. We were in the township. And as soon as we moved out there, the city annexed that property. And that was okay. And we've tried to participate and assist with projects that have come along and the progress that has happened. The project as a whole, I don't have a problem with. And we've supported parts of the project over the years. Now it's in direct conflict with our business. If we vote and I recognize, we've been told, you don't need my permission. I understand that. But if this body votes to assist in funding it, it'll be the first time in 20 years, in my recollection, that this body has funded something in direct conflict with one of the businesses within the district. And if it proceeds, even if the whether we fund it or not, I'd like to see some conditions put on the trail. The trail, the concept of the trails connecting, I am in support of. I cannot emphasize that enough. But this location is wrong for our businesses.
Would you say it's a conflict of the business or an opinion Because if wherever they go, there's going to be conflict of a business. There's going to be business there, and so maybe it's your opinion that it'll be a conflict of the business.
There are some issues that I know will be issues. The extent of the ultimate cost, what all it will be, there's opinion and conjecture there, but it is in conflict.
I hope it continues. I hope we can work it out with you. I believe that in the DDA district, this is something that we need to support.
Mike or Brian?
Well, I do ride trails. I do them all over. They're not all 10 feet. There's a wonderful trail from Charlottesville to Harbor Springs, and it encompasses sidewalks. It goes by businesses, it goes by industrial businesses, it goes down right down 119, so close to the road you can feel the wind go as a truck goes by you. So, having to be 10 feet, that's not true. And it not going on sidewalks, those trails do. And there are safety things that they incorporated in a lot of those things where they put stop signs for not for you, but for the walkers and bikers. And it's a mere suggestion to stop, it's not the law, but at least makes them look before they pull out in front of the truck coming. So, I like trails. I'm not against trails at all. So that's my 2 cents. If we vote not to do it, we're not stopping them. They'll get the money somewhere else. We don't have any say at all where they put that trail. We just have to say whether we want to put $35,000 into it. So we cannot stop it. If that's what you're saying. We can't stop it.
Yeah, the trail's going to go there. They just come here to ask us if we want to contribute to it. If we think it's good for the community. Over the last 15 years I've been on this board, we've done several things that I didn't personally agree with, but I thought they were good for the community. So I would support the trails in this project.
And I support the $35,000 toward this project.
If you want to have some safe way of getting bikes down 21, either that or change the law where we can go on sidewalks.
I think you're right. I think we need to look at that. I never knew that was a problem. Oh, here it comes.
I've been listening to the debate, and I want to point out a couple things. There is an existing sidewalk that goes north and south past Michigan Wire and D&D trucking already. It's the standard 5-foot wide sidewalk. If you're going to fund this, perhaps maybe you fund it with conditions, such as put a stop sign on each side of Mr. Lonick's driveway, so that the bicycles coming down will have to, as you said, the suggested stop, but at least they're aware that there's trucks coming in and out. But if you don't fund it, then they can put it in however they want. So it's a debate on whether or not how you want to handle it. But the ordinance is you cannot ride a bicycle on the sidewalk currently.
And how often do you enforce that?
I was going to say, usually pull people over.
By complaint, probably.
By complaint.
Yeah, people get knocked over. It was kind of, maybe when schools are letting out and there's a lot of people on the sidewalk, then, they're knocking people over.
Mainly it's downtown, we enforce it. But out in the sticks, we not necessarily don't enforce it.
Sure.
Okay. Any questions?
Do we pay a bike lane down 21?
That would have to be an MDOT question. I can't answer that.
I mean, there's enough room.
No, I'm done because there wasn't.
And the one
They
that's,
just relined everything.
the one that looks like a bike lane, I understand is really not. Because it's got drainage, things that make it go bounce.
Yeah.
He says it. I use it.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll close the discussion and anyone want to bring the motion up?
I would like to make a motion that we support the trails for the $35,000. I like what the chief said about the stop signs in front of Michigan Laird, on both sides.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
April? Any further discussion?
Yes, in order to be consistent with Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary procedure, I'd like for this motion to be voted down and a new motion that would include 4 conditions, at least 4 conditions. One, that Laurel must maintain a liability insurance policy with a minimum $1 million per incident for the life of the trail. Secondly, that Laurel provides to all adjacent property owners indemnification from any and all trail-related liability issues and have the property owners adjacent named as also insureds. Third, that Laura provides sufficient documentation that they will at all times maintain the trail to standards consistent with City of Lowell sidewalk ordinance, current and future. And fourth, that Laura provides sufficient assurance that should the trail fail or cease for any reason, that the properties affected would be restored to condition preceding the trail.
Okay, so, anybody have a problem with that?
Is that normal?
Read them again,
No, is that liability insurance even possible?
We currently have liability insurance.
Yeah, we would have to verify what you guys just brought up.
It's a normal thing for trails?
We do have a liability insurance, yes, but I'm not sure, I have to verify what, yeah, the amount and named insured and all that. I'm not sure that we can do that. I'd have to contact our insurance provider.
Would you still like me to restate it?
The first part.
The first was that Laura maintain a liability insurance policy with a minimum $1 million per incident for the life of the trail.
Okay.
The second, that Laura provides to all adjacent property owners indemnification from any and all trail-related liability issues and have the property owners named as also insureds.
Okay.
The third, that Laura provides sufficient documentation that they will at all times maintain the trail to standards consistent with City of Lowell sidewalk ordinance, current and future.
Okay.
And the fourth, that Laura provide sufficient assurance that should the trail fail or cease for any reason, that the properties affected will be restored to the condition preceding the trail.
And then we had the other safety issues that were brought up.
I'm in favor of it, yes.
Okay, so Mike's original motion, would you like to amend that to include those things, Mike? Do you agree to that?
Sure.
Okay. Do we need a motion? Do we need to vote on that?
We have to have a vote.
Yeah,
We make the motion and the support.
Well, we've got to find out from them first then about insurance. I'm not going to support something we don't even know if they have.
And there's some question too about sidewalk and trailway.
And if it doesn't comply, April, then we don't fund it until they do prove that they do.
Well, it might not even be possible. I mean, for the insurance part, that's kind of, whatever.
That's a good point, because nobody knew about this until the meeting right now. It would have been helpful if we would have had this before the meeting.
Right.
Would have been helpful if we'd had an agenda before the meeting.
Well, a named insured is not a big deal. It's the insurance that the amount.
Yeah, but it might not be to that amount.
Right.
We need to find that out first.
The other two things, though, the one where they agree they will maintain it, and the property owner won't.
They maintain their trails already.
Well, he just wants it for the life of it, is what he's saying. And the other is if it goes to pieces and starts crumbling, they'll agree that they'll remove it and bring it back to where it was.
Currently with the sidewalk, you're responsible for the sidewalk in front of your business, house, or what have you. And this is another 300, 400 feet, or however many feet of thing it is that if
In the DDA?
yes.
In the DDA, it's about 800.
Okay. That there's potential that we as property owners are responsible for. If they are, if it's at any point in time considered sidewalk as opposed to trail,
But it's gonna be the trail, so they're
How do
responsible
you
for it.
get funding?
We currently pay about $2,000 each to maintain our trails, whether it be brush hogging, mowing, snow removal. We currently do that through the city of Lowell, Virgins Township, and Lowell Township. We currently do that, and it's going to increase. It is going to increase, because if we do this section, and then we do the section down, each year it's going to increase if we keep building these trails. So we're still all paying for it. All of us are.
How do you get are you taxed? How do you get your funding?
Well, we're an authority, and so we get $2,000 per municipality every year, so we get $6,000 a year. And with that $6,000, we put a portion towards maintenance, portion towards operation expenses.
How are sidewalks, the liability on sidewalks?
Well, sidewalks is the responsibility of the property owner.
But if somebody just falls on a perfectly good sidewalk, it's the property owner?
It's the property owner.
See, good thing you have sidewalks in front of your business.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mike, seconded by April, and then Dean Lonick added some contingencies on that. That was approved by, the changes was approved by Mike Springer. It needs to be that the changes need to be seconded by April. And April's not willing to do that?
Not until they know. I'm not gonna set for an amount that we don't even know yet.
Okay, so the motion failed for lack of support.
Is it doable?
Is it even possible with jurisdiction?
Hi, Dave Austin, Williams and Works, and I have to say engineering because if my attorney friends see me up here mentioning about liability, we always go back and forth. My experience, well, first of all, the topic that you brought up about liability, Mr. Lonick's correct, that, and Mr. Pasquale, that typically in cities, the sidewalk is one of the only improvements that our communities put in their right-of-way and make us as property owners responsible for. So it's kind of unique, but we are responsible for their care, and the liability, I think, is ours as well. Communities are struggling with the increase in trails because most ordinances do not differentiate between sidewalks and trails. So to take that thought further, I think what Mr. Lonick is alluding to is if you now have a 10-foot trail, the only ordinance we have in place is for sidewalks, whether it's 5-foot or 10-foot or whatever. And technically, our ordinance requires that the homeowner take care of that sidewalk. It doesn't define how wide that is. Our ordinance does not specifically address trails, so it's something that the planners are working on creating ordinances, and I know that Ron Woods, our interim DPW director there for a while, had brought up some examples in other communities, and I know Rich is looking at this as well, defining having something in your ordinance that specifically talks about trails and makes it different than a sidewalk. So currently we don't have those things in place in our community. So that's one. Whether or not they can get coverage, that gets back to whose trail is it. If it's a sidewalk in front of my house, I'm in the city of Lowell, This trail is in the city of Lowell. Is it Laura's insurance? Is it the city's insurance? I think that's a question for folks outside of this room who would be responsible for it. So hopefully I didn't say anything legal, but that's my observation. I just want to clarify one thing too, that Mr. Doyle brought up, that the 5-foot sidewalk is or the 10-foot requirement is if we want to continue to seek federal funding for trails, we have to have 10-foot wide. And there are trails that are less than 10 foot. Ada is a good example. In Ada, they have a township-wide millage that pays for their trails. So their trails can be 8 foot, 6 foot. When they come up to a tree, they can wiggle around it. If we use federal funds, we have to have it be 10 foot wide. We have to have 2-foot clearance to side railings, to trees, mailboxes, etc. We have to have these great big gentle curves. We can't make swooping curves. So that's why you'll see those in different trails. There will be different widths.
Thank you.
10 foot when I can drive my horse down.
Okay, so we need some answers again from you guys, if that's okay. And thanks, Mr. Austin, for bringing that information. That was interesting to know.
Well, I think what we're going to be asking for is a response back from Laura on the insurance questions, and then with that information, then you can make a final vote. At least my understanding would be.
Okay.
So are you going to get that verbiage to me, and then we can address all those points?
Yes. You'll share that, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Public record now.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And that will be specified in the DDA or within the city limits? The question that just keeps popping in your mind because we don't plow the complete trail from the school all the way down into the city. I mean, we've plowed, the city has foremen, we've done some different areas. So you're saying, because when your verbiage is Lowell trails, I would think you'd have to put in there within the city limits.
If necessary, since Mark's request is for the part that is within the DDA, I think that's all, I don't want to speak for it, but I think that's all we as a body can address. My opinion is it ought to be all property owners regardless of where it is, but I think we're only addressing the DDA district. And I mean, you're making my point. I really believe this will become a regular path. And I plow snow out there. I do. I don't pay somebody to do it. I do it. I know where it piles up. I know when the county comes by, where they leave the snow, and I can just see folks coming down the hill and then deciding to cut through the property to go get to the other side. These are things I deal with now, today, and there's not even a pile of snow there.
Okay. What are the chances of a new ordinance for a trail where it changes the rules so it's more? I don't know.
Let the new city manager do all that.
That's something you have to report back to. Yeah, you could solve a lot of different ordinance.
Depending upon how it's constructed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. Any other input from Laura?
Are we going to table this issue?
We have to table it till we
I
have
don't know
some
how much
answers.
time you'll need to get.
I won't need much time.
Okay. It'd be just, if you want to have a special meeting or a regular, if you want it brought back at a regular meeting?
I would say regular meetings.
Regular meeting, okay.
The problem we're facing, excuse me, is we're trying to build this year. And I don't mean to be pushy, but we're trying to build it this year. And the further we go back each month, that's why we've had these special meetings. I requested these, is because we're trying to build this year. And the further we push it back, the less likely it is that we'll build it, and we'll end up building it next year. Instead of working on down Bowes Road, we'll be working on the same trail that we've already been talking about for a year. So that's only
my position on that. It's not that I don't want to come back and see you, or you're sick of seeing me, I'm telling you that we want to build the trail this year. However we can do this with your help would be appreciated.
We just need those answers. Okay, so you can get them back. Okay, reports and member comments?
I just want to mention that, assuming that there's no special meetings, this will be my last meeting. In talking with the mayor, we're looking at, the person that will be taking this spot will be the mayor. And that Michael Burns, will be our new city manager, will be the executive director of the DDA. So that, just for your information, that's what's going to be coming down.
And then the executive director, the city manager will not be voting.
Right,
And
right,
then,
but the mayor will be voting.
Right, so
Yes.
just kind of flip-flop
Yes.
those spots. Good, okay. Any other member comments?
No.
Okay. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Or Mike Larkin, seconded by Brian Doyle. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Stay.